If they've gone out and they've made all this progress, they're real happy. They go, go, go. They're growing, growing, growing. Boink, they hit this plateau. Wrong sport. Not a tennis player. Go play like this. Boink, racquetball. All of a sudden, working hard, not getting the result. Wrong thing, wrong relationship, wrong job, wrong mission. So then they go out and play golf and they go, boom. They don't even get the progress. And they go, I didn't need to use the F word that many more times in my life, right? Different piece. Now that's what a dabbler does. And by the way, dabblers by their nature are unhappy. Think about this. Even with all the economic challenges that exist, most people in North America for sure have a better quality of life than 95% of the planet. 95% of the planet is living on what? How much? 2/3 of the planet, I should say, is living on $2 a day. Your worst nightmare is somebody else's greatest dream. Most of the planet's greatest dream. Your idea of economic downfall is somebody's dream. That's the truth. And so what happens though is, would you agree we have more choices, more freedoms, more opportunities today than any time in human history, yes or no? Are most people happy? Is their happiness tied to the quality of life they really have? Because we're a world now that's shallow. Most people are dabblers. They try something for a while, doesn't work out, they do something else. Now you wouldn't be in this room for 5 days if you were a dabbler, but how many of you got to deal with some of these dabblers out there? Say aye. Dabblers are the people you want to make sure you keep off your team or get off quickly, because they're going to quit anyway. And the time, energy, and effort it takes to train a dabbler is the same energy you could have a platinum player. And we're going to show you some ways to do that later on. But let me show you another path for a second before we show you the rest of the training effect. Let's take the path of what I call a stressor. Here's the stressor's philosophy. I find the way. Who can relate to this? Say I. I'm going to find the way, I'm going to achieve it. So they take up a sport like tennis, and it goes like this, and they're doing really, really well, and it's going really good, but eventually, boink, they hit a plateau. Here's the difference. Does the stressor quit? Ever quit? Yes or no? Absolutely not. What does the stressor do when it doesn't work out? What do? Do they settle for it? What if they actually get a little worse for a short time? What happens? They really get stressed and they go, screw this, I'm going to find a way, I'm going to break through, I'm going to learn a book, I'm going to find someone, I'm going to get a coach, I'm going to make this thing happen, I'm going to find a way, I'm going to find whatever it takes to make this thing happen. Poosh! And they break through, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, they break through, ladies and gentlemen. And by the way, they break through and all of a sudden they start making progress and they're so happy, and all of a sudden, guess what happens? Boink. And you go, damn! How could that happen? I've been working my tail off. I just had this breakthrough. I just worked through this thing. I just fought through it. But by the way, do they hit another plateau? Yes or no? So what happens here? Do they give up? Do they quit? Do they go, it's the wrong sport? What does the stressor do? They stress out. Shit, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to make this thing happen. I got to make this thing. Come on, figure something out. Let's find this thing. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to make more calls. I'm going to make this thing happen. And all of a sudden, eventually, what happens? Poof! Ladies and gentlemen, they break through again. Come on now. And by the way, they eventually get where they want to be. The problem is they're so stressed out by the time they get there, they're so exhausted they can't enjoy it.
The human brain has this incredible capacity for guilt. And most people unconsciously let that roll over them and kick their butt and make a horrible life. I love guilt. Guilt is a tool. Guilt is a weapon. Guilt does not have to be a bad thing. It's not like I perpetuate, but I'm like, I love that I feel bad when I don't do a good job. Most people hate that about themselves. I love that feeling. I'm like, I didn't do a good job there. Next time I will. So some people, guilt is discouragement. Other people, it's a signal for learning. To me, guilt is a signal for learning. It is the body and the brain, the spirit, knowing what is right, knowing what is wrong, knowing what's great, knowing what's mediocre. And it's saying, hey, do a little better. Now, if it's translated into a negative impulse, then some people call it guilt. But I'm totally cool with guilt. I think it's good that we feel bad when we do something that is below our standard or that's not right, because that impulse to go, I want to do that better.
The way I see it is that competition in and of itself is not good or bad. And this is like the monk mindset on 99% of things, that this mug is not good or bad. It can be filled with water or it could be filled with poison.
Yes.
And so competition, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
As monks, our competition is in how much love and respect we show to each other.
That's your competition?
Like that's what you compete on.
Or how long can we meditate for?
No.
I can meditate longer than you.
So if any monk is, and I did this plenty of times.
Really?
If I sat there and I thought, oh yeah, look at him, he's scratching his back. He got out like
He
that.
moved.
Your meditation just got destroyed. Right? All the value. And so monks will never ask how long you meditate. They focus on how deep you meditate. And someone who meditates deep doesn't go on about how deep it was.
Right.
But you compete for showing respect. You compete for serving each other. You compete for how well you can collaborate. And I feel like you live this.
Yes.
Like
yes.
I feel like you have
No,
this
I
in
didn't
you.
used to do that.
Yeah.
But the last
you
7
do
years,
it now.
yeah,
Like you think like a monk. Like I feel like we're always trying to find a way where we can be better friends to each other and support each other.
Yeah.
And so you're competing on that. And that's a positive competition that I think you can have. So you can still use, and this is the beautiful thing about the monk mindset, you can use any thing in a positive way.
One thing that's true about life is that things are always changing around you, always. Whether you are moving into a new season or in school and all of a sudden your kids' school schedules change, or you're moving into a new season of work and all of a sudden your work life is changing, or you're moving into a new season of your marriage or of your health or of anything. Life changes all the time, which is why it's really important to be self-aware and to make the small changes that help you enjoy and seize all the opportunities from the season of life, work, family, relationships that you're in right now.
We always have been trained to focus on the result. So people ask, what do you want in life? And I'm like, forget that. That's the worst question to ask someone. Because when you ask what you want, that's when the ads come in. And you're like, oh, I want that car, I want that home, I want that dress, I want that body, I want whatever it is. My question to you is, what do you want to wake up and be every day? Like, what do you want to wake up and do every day? What's the process that you're in love with? So we're thinking about the result, whereas my question is, forget the result. What's the process that you're in love with doing? So start there, first of all. Don't start your journey of saying, I want to be a movie director because I want to hit the blockbuster charts. So I want to do this. Don't make it about that. Like, don't be like, I want to be a singer because I want to be Ariana Grande, right? Like, that's not the point. That's just a result. Do you love singing every day? And I realized this with a very honest question to myself. I'm really passionate about football, soccer. I absolutely love the game. I grew up on it. I'm still a huge fan. I missed out on it when I was a monk. I've been catching up ever since. Any football game. I was just in London last week and I made sure I went. Couldn't see a game live, but I went and watched it at a bar in London, and I love the energy. I'm so passionate about soccer. I don't have what it takes to be a soccer player.
Yeah.
Like, I do not want to wake up at 4 a.m. I wake up at 4 a.m. to meditate. When I was a monk, I wake up at 5:30 a.m. now to meditate. I do not want to wake up at 4 a.m. to go out on a raining pitch and play soccer. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to be in the gym for 4 hours a day. I want to meditate for 4 hours a day, but I don't want to play soccer for 4 hours a day and then be in the gym and train. I'm not envious of any athlete in the world because it takes a different type of mindset.
If you had a kid, obviously you do have a kid, but say if you had like a 20-year-old and he's just a doper, where he wake and bakes and doesn't get anything done, he's just always like hanging out with his friends and playing video games, and he's just a loser. Yeah. I wish there was a way you could show someone like that, like, I know that you're getting some comfort and satisfaction out of just laying around, doing nothing, eating, getting fat, but your life would feel better and richer if you had a goal, you chase that goal, you accomplish some things, and you would get this boost of confidence, you'd get this boost of self-esteem, like whatever it is that you're into doing. Maybe you're into drawing comic books, maybe you're into making pottery or sculptures, but find whatever the that is and pursue that instead of doing nothing. Like, the people that are doing nothing, those are the real people. I mean, look, doing something might be as simple as like that Alex Honnold guy. He just climbs rocks, but he's world-class rock climber. Though. It's something.
And it's also a goal of his, and he's also the best at it, right?
Yes, yeah.
But those people who smoke pot all day and do that, those are also the guys who hate on Joe Rogan for being in shape, you know what I'm saying, or being disciplined, or get on Kevin Hart's Instagram and hate on him, you know what I'm saying? Because they don't, it's their own insecurities. I see what you're saying, but I would assume they would get motivated by seeing other people do something with their lives. Like, that should be motivating, not
but if you grew up with losers and you're around a bunch of people with shitty attitudes, especially if it's in your household, I was very lucky that both my mom and my stepdad, they're the least hater people I've ever met in my life. They're just not haters in any way. Like if someone's doing well, they're always like, wow, look at this guy, or like, wow, look at her, or wow, look at him. There was never any hate in my house in terms of other people's success. But if you grew up with a dad and your dad's like, yeah, all these rich assholes, this you think she's a badass, and this, there's people that look at other people's success, and instead of saying, wow, that guy did a lot of work, like the way I'm a successful person, but the way I look at Kevin Hart, he exhausts me, or The Rock. Those guys exhaust me. I'm like, Jesus Christ, like I feel lazy next to those guys. Like they do so much. Like those guys are so overbearingly ambitious, But some people, they see that and they compare themselves and they don't like it, so they start getting really shitty. And it's like a natural feeling to try to chip away at that person.
I believe in human possibility, human potential, and I think that one of our biggest limiting beliefs is the belief of how limited we really are. And so my interest is to give people the science to begin to understand how powerful they really are. And I think that science really is the language that does that really well. And the new sciences like quantum physics and neuroplasticity, neuroscience, neuroendocrinology, psychoneuroimmunology, the mind-body connection, epigenetics, all of those sciences point the finger at possibilities. So I want to create a language for people from a philosophical or theoretical standpoint for them to begin to understand what's possible. But then I want to be able to have those people begin to wire that information in their brain completely, because learning is making new connections, right, in the brain. But remembering is maintaining and sustaining those connections. And it's so much easier to lose our vision than to remember it, right? So then we have to begin to hardwire the brain or install the neurological hardware in preparation for an experience. So the more people understand what they're doing and why, then the how gets easier. So I want to then set up the conditions in an environment, in a workshop where people can begin to apply or personalize what they learn so that they can have an experience. An experience then further enriches the brain. But the prize of an experience is an emotion. And once you start feeling unlimited, once you start feeling abundant, once you start feeling worthy, now you're teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind has intellectually understood. So knowledge is for the mind and experiences for the body, and people begin to embody the truth of that philosophy. Now, if they can repeat it over and over again, it'll become innate in them. It'll become natural. Second nature will become easy. They'll begin to master that philosophy. So I want people to begin to understand that thoughts are very powerful. Feelings drive our thoughts, and that they can begin to create a better life for themselves once they understand some of these principles.
What's a few simple things that they should be doing right now to have a checklist to do before the end of the year to then crush for a whole 12 months moving forward?
All right. I'm going to give you something called the ladder of personal finance, which tells you where your money should go. Okay, this is just step by step, put your money here. And if you want to know all the details about it, you can check out the system. So
it's in the book too?
It's in great detail in the book.
Got it.
All right. So if you've got some money lying around, what should you do with it? First of all, if you've got a 401k match at work, you should max that out. That's free money. Take advantage of it. And if you're not sure what that means, go to your HR person and say, does this company match any 401k contributions? If they say yes, do what I said. Next, if you've got debt, pay it off. Pay it off aggressively. You know, what's interesting is that most people in debt who I talk to don't actually know how much they owe. And that's shocking. You would think, of course they would know. No, they don't, because who wants to proactively
stare at their debt all day?
Yeah, and just feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But you know what? You feel much better when you have a plan. And the number one question I ask folks when they tell me they have debt, I say, number one, do you know how much you owe? They never do. Number two, for the rare people who say, $15,000 or $70,000, whatever, I say, what is your debt payoff date? You can actually plug it in. You can plug in a debt payoff calculator online. You can map it all out, and you will be able to know the exact month your debt will be paid off.
Based on how much you're spending right now.
Based on how much you're contributing to that debt payoff. Now, you will be able to see that if you add an extra $50 a month or $100 a month, that thing will actually oftentimes shorten by years because of the interest. It doesn't matter if it's going to take you 3 months or 4 years to pay off your debt. It doesn't matter to me. What matters is that you know the date. Okay, so that's number 2, pay off any debt you've got. 3, if you've got money left over, go to your Roth IRA. And if you can, max that out. That's a great tax advantaged account.
It grows tax deferred, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So that's 3.
that's 3. Okay, it's actually post-tax money. And then 4, if you still got money, you're going to go back to your 401k, which is another tax advantaged account. You're going to max that out. If you still got money, you're going to create a non-taxable, non-retirement account and just put your money in there. Now, there's a few other wrinkles to this. There's HSAs available. There's also your emergency fund that's talked about in the book, and all these things. They're details. But that just shows you, when you've got money, this is where you go. There's a structured way of thinking about it.
A ladder towards financial success.
Exactly. And if you follow the steps, it's almost like a waterfall. It just goes from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, and your money's going where it needs to go automatically, and you will feel great. You'll feel great, which is so important. And also, you're going to look at your accounts and see debt's going down. Investment and savings are going up. And all of a sudden, you wake up 6 months from now, and you're like, oh my God, I didn't realize I have that much saved in my savings account. That's because of the decision you made today.